All right, we are live across platforms. And normally, this time of the day, I would be in the house of worship, but I'm in the house of Kamau today. Our associate producer is going to lead you in a discussion as we go into this March Madness season. And hopefully, fellas, I'm going to be tagging you in this so that you can join him in this conversation. So, tag someone. And I'm going to bring on our associate producer. He is in Houston, Texas today, but he is from North Richland Hills, Texas, via Detroit, homeboy. He's from Murray Wright Pilots Fly High. He is from Detroit, and he is going to take it from here. Hello, Kamau Williams.
Good morning. That's a great entry. You make me feel like I'm somebody today.
You absolutely are somebody, and take it away. I will be behind the scenes. Anybody interested in joining Kamau Live and having a part of this discussion as we enter in this March Madness season, I want the fellas and the loving stuff and around the community to know that we got some great sports aficionados who want to chop it up with you and have some great conversation. So take it away, Kamau.
All righty. I want to straight to some great topics that I wanted to, first and foremost being the Wolverines. Right now, brought in a little bit of controversy, a great season on the court, kind of marred a little bit recently with the actions of their head coach, Mr. Juwan Howard. And they also had a player that's been injured that's kind of slowing them down from being probably a 1 seed to a 2 seed right now, going up into the tournament. I don't know what you guys' feelings and what you think about him almost getting to a literal fist fight with the other coach, going across the court and having to be held back by players and coaches. At the beginning of the season, I spoke to a couple of buddies of mine. I told them that Juwan Howard coaches like he plays. He's still a bit on too much on the emotional side, where he needs to be more on the cerebral side now that he's a coach. And other guys who played and coached kind of agree with me. It's not that I'm quote unquote hating on him. I want to see him do well. I'm a very big fan of him and him being in the Fab Five. And full disclosure, I went to Michigan State, but growing up in the city of Detroit, that's all you had was University of Michigan, and so and Michigan State basketball a little, but football you didn't have Michigan State at all. You had Bo Schembechler and everything University of Michigan coming out, the Free Press and all the TV stations and the Detroit News, because it wasn't there closer in proximity, and two, everybody loved all things Michigan. That's where we got the term Walmart Wolverine, because everybody loves the University of Michigan, even though no one, a good 90% of the people never set foot on their campus. But that's how it is. You have your team that you're going to love, and that's a part of the whole thing. I think that he may be in a little bit of trouble if he did actually honestly say, "Hey, I'll kill you." That can get him suspended, and if he were having a bad season, that could probably get him fired. The question is, when will the suspension come down from the NCAA, or will it come from the Big Ten? Because I can remember back in the day, there was John Chaney over at Temple. He threatened John Calipari in an open forum, chased after him, told him, "I'll kill you," and they suspended him for a good little while. And this was in the '80s. So with this cancel culture, what's he going to be looking at in terms of what his punishment is going to be? If you go back and look at the press conferences for both the coaches, both their stories kind of matched up. And I'm still interested in understanding what the coach said. This has been going on for the first two games as well. I wonder what this is. As he said, he's already contacted the Big Ten offices for that. I hope that more than anything, from what I can probably see is going to happen, is that incident hopefully won't take any momentum away from the University of Michigan team as they go into the tournament. Momentum is kind of a fragile thing when you're traveling, when you're playing basketball, and you get a player down and your coach get into a little bit of controversy. But sometimes good teams circle the wagons really well, and the question is, will they be circling the wagon moving forward with that situation? And I don't know if anybody's on the on in the chat or want to come in at all. I do see some Go Blues. I do want to see that they stay successful. It's good for the state. It's good for the region. It's good for all those involved in our area to have teams that are successful. I know basketball-wise, Michigan State's been holding that candle for a while. Even though with Beeline, Michigan they go to the championship twice in the last 10 years. But in terms of winning the actual Big Ten, they haven't been quite as successful. But it's great to have a rivalry like that, Michigan State and Michigan, such in a way as North Carolina and Duke, which we'll talk about in just a few more minutes down the road. I like to have that. Something to look forward to. Like right now, football is something to look forward to. Even though Michigan's quote unquote the dominant team in the state right now, Michigan State's been beating them consistently, very consistently, and it's a fact. It's just a natural fact. With our new coach as well as the previous coach, you look at almost a 20-year swing, and State's about 75-25 at this point. And if maybe not exactly that, but it's swung in State's favor as of late. Even though the University of Michigan is the sexier program and gets a lot of the coverage because of Harbaugh and his music video saying "Who has it better than us," which is kind of crazy. Him driving around without a shirt on in a drop top car. But we're talking about basketball right now. We'll keep it towards basketball, and I hope that this doesn't keep them from going as far as they possibly could, because they have something special going over there. I have to be honest. They look good, and I want to see them do well because it's only going to help the entire region in terms of basketball wise and everything like that. Definitely. So right now we have a little bit of graphics showing U of M in the roster, and they got some good players on there. There's one kid that's a point guard that just transferred, and he has the big wild hairdo, and then they have the freshman playing down low, and that's their heart and soul right there. Everybody else around them are role players, and they accept their role and they play hard and they play well together. They're not only talented; they're just that says they want to play together, has made up their mind that they want to be a team. And when you get a group of guys that works together like that, we always call it sideline to the floor. Sideline being players that work their butts off in practice to get the first team ready to go out and play on game day. And hopefully you get an opportunity on game day knowing your role is a very hard thing for any team, whether it be boys team or girls team, understanding your role and understanding what it is that it takes for us to win as a program, even though I may not be the one directly on the field seeing and reaping all the fruits thereof. It's not an easy thing. So I'll go ahead and Mr. Marcus, can you share the roster that he has so we can get a good look at some of those young men over there? And some of those kids are still holdovers from Beeline when he left and went to Cleveland. And I still don't understand why that happened. That was just sort of a strange, almost like a lateral move, but not quite, especially he was going to the NBA. For him to just leave like that, it was just a rumor. One day he's leaving. The next day he was gone. He was down in Cleveland and he made a lot of money and he's out. And it's often hard for college coaches to come in and coach pro programs if they haven't had college experience. Pro experience. You look at Rick Pitino, who's just made it back to the tournament at Iona. You look at Calipari, he had trouble when he was in Jersey, and definitely Tarkanian. He barely had a cup of coffee after winning the championship in Vegas with UNLV. Let's see here. We got Hunter Dixon, probably going to be the freshman of the year. And let's see. First, the one who kids start right now. And let's see here. Mike Smith, that's the kid I was talking about, the transfer. He is the heart and soul of that team. this kid here definitely he's a graduate student transfer, and he's pretty much the heart and soul of the team. One of the topics I'll discuss a little bit later is hair. You're starting to see that back in NCAA competition, where before taking away mid '90s, early 2000s, it was almost a corporate look in the NCAA and at the tournaments and on teams. So they've kind of relaxed that lately, and I'm glad to see. The next point I want to talk about, we want to move on to Hoyas. The resurgence, kind of sort of like greatly, but sort of. I know we have a graphic for that with the great Patrick Ewing, the center from the great Georgetown teams, and the New York Knicks is kind of apropos that they're playing now in Madison Square Garden, where he played. Patrick Ewing played many, many years for those New York Knicks, and he had a little bit of controversy saying that he kept getting play as for his press credentials or his team credentials in the building. Well, to me, that didn't make a lot of sense, because why are you stopping a 7-foot tall guy walking down the hallway? He obviously would have something to do with basketball operations with somebody, and if you've been there, even if you're a younger guy, you should know who Patrick Ewing is and when he brings his team to town. But now that they won 4 in a row, won the Big Ten, won the Big East, they have punched their ticket to the tournament. And this is I don't know if I would say it's a resurgence, but I'll definitely say it's good to see the Hoyas back in the tournament, where they had a bit of a hiatus. John Thompson left it over to John Thompson III, and he did a good job with him for a while, and then he left out of there. And they hired Patrick Ewing early within the last year. John Thompson Sr., he passed away. So I guess this is a good dedication year for the team to dedicate it to the man who coached their coach, and get them back to a little bit of tournament prominence in the NCAA. And hopefully they can make a little bit of run there as well, because I was just watching ESPN this morning, and they were saying how Georgetown hadn't won more than 2 games in a row all season. They had issues with turning the ball over. And you can't do that and win consistently in any league, even if it's with the YMCA. And so I'm glad to see that, because I was a big fan of Georgetown growing up, and seeing them just almost like break all the rules when they came along, and how much it wasn't even swag. They had so much swag. We didn't even call it swag at the time. We called it attitude, a lot of moxie. It was almost like, how dare they have such an attitude about themselves and win. Yep, that's what we do. And that's exactly what they did with Sleepy Floyd and a lot of great players on that team. So I'm hoping that they will continue to move forward in that program in the Big East. And the Big East is not an easy conference to win in, because you got a lot of great teams out of it. Even though the Big East, basketball and football wise, is kind of taking a hit in terms of conference teams leaving the conference. Basketball wise, they are still a very strong conference, so you have to be prepared for that. All righty, make a few adjustments there. I did get a haircut this weekend. It's on Friday, so I don't look like Scruffy McMuffy, which is a good thing. And I was able to find a few extra grays. Didn't like that, but guess it goes with the territory. I still feel like I'm fine at 49. All right, we're gonna move on to discussion about the Blue Bloods. Recently, teams Duke, Kentucky, North Carolina, and you can probably also throw Michigan State in there, had a little bit of trouble this year finding a footing in this COVID-ridden season, in terms of having to sit back and not necessarily have consistency. I can tell you this, definitely Michigan State came out like gangbusters at the beginning of the season and beat Duke and beat a bunch of other people, and then had the season slowed down by having COVID stoppages a couple times. And trying to find your footing in the middle of that is not exactly easy, especially as a college kids, because they're still just that kids, and they're 18, 19, 20 years old, and trying to find anybody can be consistent at that age, even though you're effectively professional basketball players in the amount of time that they spend doing that sport from the time that they were young, playing high school, AAU, in the neighborhood. Just anytime you can have a ball in your hand, that's something that you like to do. I know out of that group, North Carolina may have an opportunity to make the tournament, but Duke and Kentucky are definitely out for the first time in a long time. Not having the both of them in the tournament at the same time is something that's almost not even heard of. Having one team may be out, or Kentucky may be out here and there because they'll have some violations. Well, they'll win the tournament and the championship, and a few years later they'll have a couple of violations, and they'll make it. They'll come right on back. But Duke hasn't had any violations. There's talk of some with Zion Williams, but knowing Duke, that'll be swept. I won't say swept up under the rug, but it'll be not much of an issue. Let's put it that way. That's the way I'll look at that. Trying to get this phone settled where you can see my face on it. Necessarily hold this thing. I don't want to hold the phone and talk at the same time. I hope that's okay. And Carolina, they played pretty decently down the stretch. And at the end of the season, they beat Duke by about 25-30. And Roy Williams, they tease him as being the coach with the best shoes in the country. He always has the great shoes through Nike. And when you got a $100 million contract through Nike, of course you're going to get the great shoes to wear on the sidelines. And I guess I'll throw that in with the hair. We'll talk about that now. Styles have changed. Styles are changing. You don't see coaches on the sideline anymore like you used to in a shirt and tie. It seemed like at some point that's all you saw. Everybody shirt and tie every game. You don't see it as much anymore. You see them wearing button-ups. You'll see them three-collar, like an Under Armour or like a golfing type shirt. Even though basketball ain't in the wintertime, you'll see them wearing sweatsuits. You'll see them wearing gym shoes or normally on the sideline. It was almost your uniform to make sure you had on a shirt and tie, all the way down to your assistants, down to the grad assistants, down to your ball boys. They were instructed because, hey, we're going to look good at all times. The only people that actually wore the uniforms were the kids. Now you see the coaches wearing athletic apparel on the sideline. And most of it, of course, has to do with having the contracts with the companies, the Under Armours, the Nikes, the Adidases, and they want to get their names out. And so they say, hey, we're paying this money. This is your shirt for this game. And that's what they go ahead and do. You can't blame them. You make the money. You got to go ahead and do that. And like I spoke to a little bit earlier, the hairstyles are back. That was almost a uniform requirement when I coached at high schools. Kids, when they were being recruited, they were told you're expected to keep your hair at a minimum. We don't do a lot of the programs will say, hey, we don't do braids, pros, and you won't be playing here. I did specifically because they want to. They had a hard time keeping up with the hair uniform. But you see them now. It's wild. You see it out there. You see the braid, the dreads. You see dreads nowadays, and the hair is. I like it because it's a self-expression. I can remember wanting to have a bald head at the beginning of the season and doing different stuff with my eyebrows, trying to be tough, and you can see these kids now. It's a beautiful thing. And it was always, as a kid in the '80s, remember having to have a fade and a part in the side of your head, and then of course you had the Jerry curl, and you didn't want to play against guys that had Jerry curls for obvious reasons. You didn't want that curl on you. You got to go rebound, so you got to check somebody. You got that curl splash in your face. That was a real thing. And man, come on, man, with that Jerry curl, that was a real thing playing sports. Even when you playing football. Guys wearing shower caps in front of their helmets, letting that soul glow go to work. So as Marcus is showing these kids with these hairstyles, you see it now. It's like Patrick Mahomes. It's faded on the sides, and it's almost just like a mop up top. And they'll twist it up, they'll braid it up, and it's a beautiful thing. And you see it with the girls as well. A lot of them we always call it the Rihanna cut, the side. They'll shave one side and have it braided over here and weaved over here with a long, and then they're doing the dreads, and I'm glad to see the self-expression is being acknowledged by the coaches, where before it was almost like their uniform was one way and the players were another. They had to they were very strict in terms of how they kept their hair, and I do like to see the fact that they are using that self-expression now, allowing them to get out there and do that, where before it was generally, this is not what we're doing. And if you're not going to be on board, you are going to be playing somewhere else. And that happened a lot. And so I'm glad to see that has changed. I don't know who's out there who I'm speaking to, but I'm enjoying my conversation with myself today. Okay. Sometimes when you build a brand, sometimes you're going to build by yourself. And as you continue to bring it along, people will have an opportunity to see what we've done in the past, to see the lend credibility to come in and see what we're doing in the future as we look at things we've done in the past. Next thing I want to talk about is the influx of a lot of African players and international players into the game. Or you're looking at in college, you see teams with guys with names that you never would have seen from different countries, overseas in Africa, Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico's always been strong for basketball. Seeing that they're pretty much almost like the 51st state to the United States. It's great to see that. And you see a lot of these kids, and they are very athletic, and they're learning the game. I can remember one of the first people it was Manute Bol, and then you got Mutombo, and those guys were literally imported here to play basketball. And then then they had Yao Ming come across and had him play, and you start seeing the international player coming being a lot stronger in college and pros. And those guys, they come in there and they're hungry. And I can remember many years ago, Isaiah saying how this was going to be a change, and how they were coming from all countries. Because you're looking at Porzingis, you're looking at Luka Doncic, you're looking at these are NBA players that are from international areas, and there's a ton more. And they are good, and they can play. The advent of the Dream Team did a lot for having the international players, seeing international basketball get stronger. There's always been international basketball when you put together the Dream Team. A lot of those kids got to see those teams in the Olympics, and their parents see those teams in the Olympics, and they start striving to play basketball. The international sport of all time will always be soccer, but basketball is catching up due to the NBA getting contracts overseas in Japan and in Europe, and guys playing in Europe that come out of the league to try and make it their dream here. And that's what happens a lot of times. These countries have national teams, and they'll go scout those national teams, and that's how they find their way to the NBA. Peja Stojakovic, in that era, that's exactly what happened with them. They brought almost their whole year and played them and have different teams. Look, you got Giannis right there. They call him the Greek Freak. He's from Greece. He's literally from Greece, and he's the time NBA MVP right now, and he's growing his hair out. It's great to see. He was just the MVP last weekend of the All-Star game. He won 16 or 17 for 17 in the game. And the key play, he needs a little bit of refinement. He needs to fix his jump shot a little bit, but he's only been in the league like 6 or 7 years, and he's been in that time. Has been the back-to-back MVP. And just think, if he still needs to improve his jump shot and he's MVP, how much more of an upside does this young man have? And I like to see him play. He plays with a lot of spunk, and he don't have a lot of muscle on him, but he has a lot of lean muscle and high twitch muscle. And he gets up and down the floor, and up and down off the floor, dunking that ball, putting it away. So if you don't get out of the way, he's gonna put the ball right top of your head, and you're gonna get dunked on. So don't get mad, just get out of the way. And that's how these kids play now. All right, we got the home stretch in the in today's game. So we got about 7 or 8 minutes. I want to talk about the tournament coming up. First thing I want to say is hopefully Michigan State will make it this year. Like I said in all disclosure, I am a Michigan State fan. I'm a Michigan State grad. They have my money, and they gave me my receipt in the form of a diploma, and I'm proud of that. And Michigan State's been to the tournament 20-something years in a row. Last time I remember was them not making it. They played in the NIT tournament. They hosted a game, and I was there. I got to sit in the lower bowl in the NIT tournament, and I think they won that game. And I'm pretty sure that was the last time they won it. So hopefully, knock on wood, that they can make it this year. And if not, it's okay. It's hard to sustain that type of consistency over that many years when everybody gives you your best game night in and night out, because they say, okay, they have been the champs. You were the champs last year. You were the champs was it 2019, 2020, 2 seasons in a row, Big Ten champions, regular season. I think 1 year they won the tournament as well. So when you get your best game from everybody every night, it's hard to hold that kind of consistency in terms of recruiting, because everybody say, oh, you don't want to go play for them. They already stacked. You can come over early. You can be the man over here. So that's when you start thinning out your recruiting, and it's hard to recruit at that much higher level. And as you can see, kind of called up to Duke this year, called up to Kentucky. Kentucky had a few more different issues in terms of kids not liking the coach. I've never been much of a fan of Calipari. I've always said he was a snake oil salesman. But, to each his own, but he wins. So you can't question. You can have your questions, but when the end result of your winning, that's what you're trying to achieve. Let's see. To win it all, can Gonzaga do it this year? Can Gonzaga win it all? I think they can do it this year. This year is much more wide open than any year in a long time. You got coming out of the Big Ten, you got Michigan, you have Ohio State, you have Illinois. Those 3 teams are strong and they are tough. Coming out of the Big East, you still have Villanova, even though they lost to Georgetown because they have an injured player. You coming out of the South, you have Alabama looking good right now. Let's see, out West, you got Gonzaga looking good, and I'm not for sure who else is coming out of the West right now. And then Baylor is coming out of the South. They're a top 5 team. They've been a top 5 team consistently over the last 2 or 3 years. But right now, Gonzaga is the odds-on favorite to win it. They have the number overall seed in the tournament. And they've been to the championship a few times, but it's hard for them, seeing that they don't play in a very strong conference. They're a great team in an okay conference. And when you have that, you try and find games in your out-of-league competition, which is normally you would be able to do that in the Christmas tournaments, in the preseason, pre-conference tournaments, and maybe on an off week, when you have an off week, you can try and match up with another team from across the country and play a big game like that. But with COVID, it's been a little bit more difficult to do that. So can they hold on with the strong team that they have going into the tournament, and can they win it this year? I think that they can, but it's a skeptical. I think they can. It's not. I think they can. They can. They should be able to. It's not one of them. Oh yeah, I got them penciled in. I'm not for sure. I'm not for sure, and that's just because they don't play in a strong league. The league isn't as strong to carry them, and when your best days, your best competition is in practice, that's not that's good because you're getting a good foundation to be prepared for those games. But when you're not being challenged on the court in any type of strong way, it makes things more difficult for you when you're playing in those tough games. Of course, everybody's going to give you their best game, but when you have head and shoulders best competition over everyone that you're playing against, it makes it a lot tougher for you in the long run to win those games in down the road. So good luck to Gonzaga. I do want to talk about the ladies' teams a little bit. You have of course, you are going to have the UConn Lady Huskies. You're going to have Georgia. There's my favorite team, which is South Carolina, coached by Dawn Staley, the former University of Virginia player, who played on a couple Olympics, 2 or 3 Olympics. And she's the head coach down there now, and she's done a great job with them. And they've been my favorite for a while. My favorite team before that was Tennessee, when their coach left, and she's now passed on Miss Pat, Coach Pat. Rest in peace to her. They're still one of my favorite teams, but my favorite team right now is South Carolina. I like to see Dawn Staley. I always thought she was cute. Of course, I wouldn't have a chance. Who am I? But that's neither here nor there. That's just my commentary. And I know people gonna say, "Oh, that's not right." She's on team, so you should be talking about her like that. Attraction is attraction, but it is what it is. But I do wish them the best going into the tournament. On the ladies' side as well. Looks like both Michigan and Michigan State ladies teams may make the tournament this year. And I'm just going in the tournament starting Thursday. It's a little bit difficult with them because, of course, we still have teams that don't know if they're going to make it due to the COVID protocols. You had to have a couple great teams drop out of their tournament, conference tournament because of COVID. They had the tracing brought back somebody being around somebody who was positive. A couple other teams had one guy being positive, so they had to shut the whole team down. So that will they even still be ready to play come Thursday or Friday because of that. And so we want to wish the ladies as well as the men a great tournament. The tournament normally ends around the first week in April, that Monday, and then the Tuesday the girls play the following day on a Tuesday. And I'm always rushing home from work to see the game and kick everybody away from the big TV so I can watch the championship game or go to a local watering hole if some of us want to get together and watch the game, even though it's a Monday. Depending on who's playing in the tournament, and some of my favorite teams. So a lot of those traditions continue to move forward. I got a buddy who would literally take off work Thursday, Friday of the first tournament weekend, and we would go over to his house and watch the games. And he said, "Hey, I told the family I love y'all, but these are my days, and we gonna have the fellas over. We're going to start at 10 in the morning. We're going to go at 10 at night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the first weekend where they go from 64 teams down to 16, I want to say. Is that right? Yeah, down to the Sweet 16 the first weekend. Is that right? Yep. After all those games. Right now, there's actually 68 teams. There's 2 playing games. And I like that because that gives those other teams opportunities. And HBCUs, they normally would be putting those games, even if they do win their conference tournament, they get stuck in those playing games because the competition in those leagues aren't as great. Why? Because the great talent that normally would be in the past would have been funneled to the HBCUs are now in the predominantly white institutions. Because why? Athleticism and money. And of course, we want to make sure that we're getting a fair shake at all levels as the African American community. But it's to the point now where it has been in behest of our own community in some ways, and that's a great example. But as you see, people like Deion Sanders going back to Jackson State, there's been a few of those high-level recruits that have said they're going to go back to playing for the HBCUs, and I think that's I think that's great because at the end of the day, it makes an opportunity. I'm all about opportunities for other people. If you want to go play here, that's going to open up an opportunity for someone else somewhere else where you could have went to that big university. And now that creates also an opportunity for you to go where you want to go and be the best player that you can be. And at the end of the day, that's just more opportunities and great things. That means those HBCUs will get more money to update their facilities academically as well as athletically, and that's always a great thing. All right, looks like we've right around the 12 o'clock hour side, 1 o'clock hour you guys time. Looks like a good opportunity for people to come on, get out of church and go find in the tradition that we have, and find you some macaroni and cheese and some greens and some fried or some baked chickens, so we can stay as healthy as possible. And just enjoy your day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in, and catch us on the replay. Of course, that'll be posted, and I can see Mr. Marcus smile, and his brainchild is coming to life, and it gives us all an opportunity, once again, an opportunity to do something well out here in this world. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, our associate producer, Kamau Williams from North Richland Hills, Texas, who's currently in Houston, Texas, so probably enjoying great weather there. And Kamau, thank you for coming on. You know, I think this is going to be a great thing for sports fans. You are a big sports fan, always have been. And so I wanted to elevate your voice, and I enjoy listening. As I was telling some people in the chat, well, actually in the inbox, that I've never really been a big basketball fan. That's why I tried to bring forward the basketball fans. I grew up on baseball, watching football, watching tennis growing up. So basketball was never that thing, even though I knew who the bigger players were. But I never followed the NCAA and didn't realize how big it was until I first went to Michigan State, right? Then you found out the Big Ten and all of this Sweet 16 and all of this stuff, even though I still really don't follow it. But there are a number of men around and women around Love and Stuff who we wanted to give this opportunity to. So we'll be back on the 28th with you. And so I wanted to get some of your predictions before you go, because you talked about South Carolina. Now, is South Carolina your number one because they look good, or they're the number one team that you believe can really bring it home? Is that your number one women's pick?
That's my pick. But the best team in women's college basketball is they are
Okay.
head and shoulders above everybody else. But the team if there's anybody that can beat them, it would be South Carolina.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to be looking for those two, UConn and South Carolina, around the 28th, just to see how they're faring. And then for the men, what will you say when we get back together on the 28th? What if you were wagering, what would you say the top two teams will be, or who are the top teams going into this?
I have to say Gonzaga, but next to Gonzaga, I really can't say, because it's that much wider. Gonzaga should be there. But like I said before, their league is not a strong league. So if they lose early, it wouldn't surprise me. It's the parity in men's basketball right now is so great that it's almost like any given Sunday with football. Anybody can beat anybody on any day now, and that's what the mid majors all the way up to the blue bloods.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And who are the standout players, would you say, or standout coaches that you would say going into this tournament?
Okay. I'll amend that. I'll say Baylor, and I'll say Gonzaga. Standout players. Let's see. That's a good question. That is a very quick question. I'm not as versed on the guys in terms of the actual individuals, but I do know I keep up more with the teams than I do as I keep more with the players in the NBA than the teams in the NBA, because the NBA team play is, in my opinion, is terrible. Excuse me.
Okay, so we'll have a little bit of that discussion too. I was talking to a couple of folks in the inbox who say, "Hey, I'm bigger an NBA fan than NCAA," so we'll include some of that. Now, you talked about a friend of yours who used to take the days off. What do you do during tournament time? Are there specific things you eat, specific things you drink, specific hangouts? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I keep up with I have the alerts on my phone, so that my phone all the time during the tournament, so I get to see who's winning. And of course, I do a bracket. I normally do about 3 or 4 brackets. I do the free brackets, and at least one buddy will say, "Hey, let's put $5 together and let's see who's gonna win it at the end." I'll do at least one of those, so I'll keep up with it that way too, just so I see, if I can bring more than $5 home that I sent out initially.
Okay. And I think we want you here in Love and Stuff to do a bracket. I think we'll track that between now and the end of the tournament. So set up a bracket and we'll post that so that people can chime in on the bracket choices that you've made. And we'll see if we get some of the other brothers to chime in on that as well.
All right,
Kamau Williams, this is
put the link.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'll set it up and I'll put the link through, and it'll be free. It'll just be for brackets.
Wonderful. Kamau Williams, thank you. This has been a great hour. I'm looking forward to having you back on the 28th. We'll negotiate the time to make sure we can get some of the church crowd maybe in it and some of the other folks. That's what happened to me years ago in football. I missed all of the Sunday games, and Saturdays I was in rehearsal, so I missed Saturday games, and Monday nights I was in rehearsal, so I missed Monday night games. So we want to kind of make it at a time that some of the other fellas might be able to join. But outstanding as always. I am so grateful that you are part of our Love and Stuff community. You add just what we need here, and that's a great guy, a sports aficionado, but a great guy who is filled with love. Kamau is our strong and big teddy bear in Love and Stuff. So don't mess with me, because he'll fly out in Detroit and have to handle you. No, I'm teasing.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you being a part of our. I appreciate you being a part of our community and sharing your great gift and love for sports. And we're going to track that and elevate your voice. We're going to also be reaching out to some of our businesses who might help to sweeten the pot so that people will enjoy some fun prizes during this time to kind of, get their favorite beer for people who drink beer. I don't, or favorite drink, sports drink, or whatever it is. We want to raise it up on this Kamau's Corner is what we're going to do with it, and elevate his voice around sports, because people have a love for many things, and there are people who love sports. As you heard Kamau say, his phone is set for the notification, so he's really into this, and that's laudable. I think team sports, especially, I think build so many great opportunities, not just for athletes to be in the forefront, but to build discipline in them and to build acumen in them. And so I celebrate and laud that, because Kamau was in organized sports, and he is an outstanding man. I was going to say young man, but we aren't as young as we used to. So outstanding man. And I think you're right. If players can be courted, forgive the pun, to HBCUs, all the better for that school to get the kind of exposure and dollars and things that they need to build up their programs and sustain programs, because we've got some outstanding HBCUs. So when I say build up, I mean to expand on what's already there. We've got some outstanding curriculum and programs that are turning out outstanding scholars in every arena, that are crushing every arena as thought leaders, and not just athletes and entertainers. They are brilliant neurosurgeons. They are politicians. They are educators. They are everything. So I want to, but that kind of program, a sports program with one or two outstanding players, can bring the needed dollars to a HBCU to ensure that its programs are sustained. So I love that you raised that earlier. I think that's a great point. And I'd love to try, maybe during one of these to try to reach out to some of those that have returned, just to get their take on it and include it in one of your shows. But I'm so proud of this moment, and I'm looking forward to more of it. Thank you so much, sir. And those of you that will view this replay or are viewing it now, follow Kamau Williams here on Facebook. Follow Love and Stuff by clicking follow. And whenever Kamau goes live, you will be notified about sports talk or Kamau's Corner or whatever happens relative to his love for sports and Love and Stuff's love for him. It's an extraordinary community, and there are all kind of extraordinary people, just like the one you're seeing today. Kamau Williams, thank you. And thanks everybody for watching.
Thank you.